Happy Spooktober, everybody. It's a friend that nobody likes, June Sunday. And what the fuck is this? When I said to let me know what you want to see, I didn't mean give me fucking riddles. Thinking's for pussies. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Mistogen Idolus, you ain't got me yet. Because I'm on to you. I know that those are the lyrics to Frank Sinatra's Love and Marriage, and the 1956 version of the song from Capitol Records was used to the theme for the Fox sitcom Married with Children. You're no match for me, Idolus. Haha, that's all I have to say. And maybe I'll look into doing a video on that later. Anyways, I know everyone on YouTube is too busy making fun of Trump or exposing Clinton conspiracies to make entertaining content, but your buddy boy June is here, and it's time to review. This week, keeping with the spoopular theme, we are taking a look at the 2015 movie, The Witch, a movie that tries to look smart by having two V's instead of a W, even though the W totally existed in the 17th century just because Rob Eggers thought it looked neat. This movie is inspired by the witch hunt that gave Europe, America, and most of the world witch fever from about 1450 all the way to the 18th century, a time that the world tries to forget about considering that someone convinced the mass population that magic was real somehow. This movie follows the story of a Puritan family who is exiled from their community in the New World because some people just can't agree on interpretations of the Bible, quaintly enough. The go-lucky troop of God's children find a new land to farm on and somehow build a home the same way Noah built his ark because that shit got done fast. Then some freaky shit happens, a baby goes missing, something about a naked boy and an apple. The family gets a dose of witch mania and we get to watch them fall apart and turn on each other. Now, I don't want to say that this movie is good or bad just yet, but my first problem with this movie is its dialogue. This film does its best to recreate 17th century English, which I have to say,
hi, that's incredible.
Good on you, mate!
But there's a big problem that nobody knows what they're saying. I'm sure I'm not the only one who gave up on trying to understand most of the dialogue halfway through.
Then shall you be banished from this plantation's liberties?
I would be glad on it.
A lot of the problems I had with this movie really came down to the idea of it being slightly too ambitious. I think for the sake of storytelling, The Witch could have gotten away with a more modern English with a bunch of these and thous thrown in there. But let's actually talk about some good parts of this movie. Since the dialogue can be hard to understand at times, I appreciate the movie's use of imagery, using the picture on screen to help tell the story. By the end of the movie, I was mostly relying on what I saw to tell what was going on. Also, surprisingly enough, the child actors in this movie aren't totally garbage, which is neat. Usually a horror movie suffers from its cast, but all the actors in this movie do a good job at selling the events and the time period. I also like how the horror in this movie isn't produced like other movies by using just plain gross imagery and gore. The sense of fear from The Witch comes from the atmosphere and mood. The movie strays away from many film cliches and leaves the viewer not knowing what will happen next, evoking a truer sense of uneasiness instead of trying to prepare themselves for the next jump scare. This movie also uses gore very cleverly. Instead of what other movies do by pumping out more blood until you throw up, this movie uses the right moments to shock you with disturbing imagery and gore. I think this is a good example of less is more. By using less gore in the movie, the audience won't be as desensitized when they see it, thus maybe giving a bigger reaction to it. To be honest though, the one thing I really appreciate about this movie is that it's not just another paranormal thriller, or a found footage film, or paranormal found footage film. It has its own concept and ideas, and I know that I always say this, but I have to give it credit for being original. That being said, there were things about the film I didn't like. After I got over the Shakespearean lingo, I felt like the movie was a little slow-moving. Usually in horror movies, the structure goes a little something like, people go somewhere new, they explore a little, then someone touches, reads, sees, hears, or says something that incites something else to kill them. If you paid attention in English class, it's called the incipient incident. There's a build-up, a line crossed, and then a shit show. Everybody dies. But I didn't get that sense with The Witch. It felt like most of the movie, including some of the scary bits, was building up to something that never happens. The movie didn't really start to move until the last half hour of the movie, which for such an interesting concept is a letdown. The other problem I had wasn't with this movie by itself, but more with witch hunting movies and stuff as a genre. I think it's safe to say that witches didn't exist unless you count the Wiccans standing outside of your school smoking cigarettes that their mom bought them. But doesn't that mean that maybe they just accidentally burnt innocent people at the stake? It's like there's this whole group of people who were victimized and killed that we just kind of forgot about. It's worse than that. There are films being made perpetuating this idea that witches were real and whoever killed them were heroes. And that's not cool. I doubt in 100 years no one's going to want to give Hitler a high five. Although The Witch isn't about the hunting and killing of said witch, I recently saw a documentary called Witch Hunt: A Century of Murder that it got me thinking about it. I recommend it. Anyways, I don't mean to be so judgmental. To be honest, this is a movie that people will either love or hate. It's neither horrible or really good. I don't have any other feelings towards it other than that. If I had to score it, I'd give it a solid 6.4. Thanks for watching. As always, I'm Soon Junde, and don't be afraid to leave a comment or suggest what I should do next. You filthy animal. What are you still doing here? The review's over. Get off my property.